Welcome, everyone, to the Flexwork Podcast. I'm your host, Ludwig Arroyo, and today we have a very special guest from my home state of New Jersey, now living in Miami. It's Yve-Car Momperousse, starter, CEO, and founder of Creole Essence. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and excited to chat about all things entrepreneurship
Yep.
and what it is to run and grow a business.
100%. And that's kind of what we want to do here on this show is we love talking to entrepreneurs. One of the things that we find the more we talk to entrepreneurs, there's so many threads that are the same in terms of how they became successful, and whether it's the amount of attention they put into their craft and the amount of passion they committed to it, or some of the lucky bounces that they got in their lives, that made things happen. And I know you have an interesting story about the beginning of Creole Essence and the instant that what happened when you went into a salon in 2014. So I want to start there, and then we want to go even further back to kind of the childhood days and what you were thinking about in your career. But tell me about what happened in 2014 that helped you launch this company.
Sure. So it actually happened in 2008, believe it or not. And
Okay.
there's a whole learning around that about how long it takes to start a business and when you should.
Yeah.
But I was at the University of Pennsylvania working on my master's and also working there. And a few of my friends, we were in the School of Government, and they said, hey, the Wharton guys are having an event. We should go there.
Yeah.
And the idea is that we're going to save the world. We're going to go get husbands who make it in business so that they can finance all the good things that we're going to do in the world.
Right.
And I never knew that I would be the one financing my own world and own vision and things that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But went to the hairdresser and I said, straighten my hair, please, because I have this event to go to. And at the time, the common perception was that if you wanted to grab a guy, you needed to wear your hair straight. So she straightened my hair.
This is 2008, right? We're talking?
This
Yeah.
2008 talking. And she straightened my hair. It looked amazing. Went to the event, did find a husband. Which that was the good part, but the bad part is when I washed my hair the next day, it all fell out.
Oh.
So yeah, it's one thing to get a haircut; it's another thing for your hair to fall out.
Yeah.
So after crying like a good millennial, I called my mom and I said, "What's that oil that you used when I was growing up that solved all of our problems? It has a very distinctive smell and texture, but I know it works." And she said, "L'huile muscati," which is known as Haitian castor oil. I run store. I'm in Philadelphia. It's a pretty diverse neighborhood. But everything I found in stores had hexane, bleach, and other additives. It wasn't the product that I grew up with. So I asked my mom to send me some from what I call the immigrant stash.
Yeah.
These are things that cannot get readily available.
Yeah.
They came straight from motherland. And when she sent it to me, it was in a rum bottle with tape all over it. And I said, how is something that is such a prized possession in our culture? It's been there for thousands of years. Why is it that the only way I can get it is if you send it to me from Haiti in a rum bottle? And I jokingly said I should start a business out of this. And my mom, in her wisdom, said, actually, you should. We started looking at the supply chain. We started looking at the impact that we can have overall in the country. And that's when I decided that I was going to start Creole Essence.
So that was 2008.
That was 2008. So in between there, if you're going through the timeline,
yeah.
Earthquake in 2012.
Yeah.
So after the the hair catastrophe occurred, my mom and I are starting to go to Haiti. We are actually in mountains learning how the oil is made because I have zero idea how the oil is, even created.
Yeah.
2012 earthquake happened and my focus shifted. Given that I was the board chair for the Haitian Professionals of Philadelphia, and I had done so much community organizing over the years, when the earthquake happened, my community was also looking to me like, well, what are we going to do? So we raised about $300,000. We raised resources in terms of getting jets, getting nurses, doctors, and folks over to Haiti. So I put the business on hold so we could focus on immediate relief efforts. And that hold was 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So from 2014 that was my focus. But my mom said to me, it's really great that you're on TV, and all that stuff with council folks or what have you,
Yeah.
talking about raising funds for Haiti. But what happens when the camera is no longer there? What happens when nobody cares
Yeah.
anymore about Haiti and it's no longer a headline? Those women that you started working with, the business, that is what's going to create sustainable jobs. And you said that's your goal. So one of the rare times mom is right.
One of the
um,
many times mom is right.
many, but I'm not going to say that. It's her head.
I get it.
So it was after that. That's why there was such a jump between when the hair catastrophe happened, starting to work on the business, and actually executing. But I will also say, which most entrepreneurs experience, it's analysis paralysis,
Oh, yeah.
or thinking it has to be perfect.
Mhm.
So even after that conversation, it probably was another year before I started the business, because I kept saying, we're not ready yet. We're not ready yet. And a friend of mine who was an entrepreneur said to me, your 60% is probably somebody else's 100%. Just start now, because you can iterate as you go along. And those were some pivotal lessons, I think, that I had to keep on during the journey of entrepreneurship, because it's never perfect. It's never ready, but you did your best and you iterate as you go along. So that's how we got to 2014 when I actually launched the business.
So it's funny you say that. I feel like I give this advice all the time. There are so many people that get started with an idea for a business, and they get hung up on the logo, and they get hung up on what the perfect name is, or finding the perfect website, right? It's got to be www, and it's got to be short so people can find. Like, no, man, just start the business. Like, start selling.
Just start. And honestly, now that I look back and we're 11 years old now, I'm like, had I started
Right.
even 3 or 4 years earlier, it would have changed the game for us as a business, because we would have learned quicker. You can iterate quicker.
You can make
And
mistakes faster, learn faster. Yep.
Yep. And if you think about it, every day you wait, more competition is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else is in there getting ready to launch something at the same time, and they will be your competitors. So start early, start quick, and iterate.
That's another lesson there too, is the fact that speed to market is sometimes more important, dare I say, than the quality of the product. Obviously the product has to be great, but man, if you're beating the rest of the market, you have an advantage that no one else has. And so I think that's a great lesson. Let's take it back though to Brooklyn, just real quick, because I want to get a sense of what young Yve-Car Momperousse was thinking about growing up in Brooklyn and what did she want to do, and what was the trajectory to get her from there to the point where you started looking at Creole Essence?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. One me and my therapist talk about all the time. Uh, uh, and young people, I think, learned very early on that you had to create the environment and create the world that you want.
Mhm.
And I say that because two pivotal things happened. One, I remember my dad used to teach a GED course, and he was also a community leader, and folks looked to him a lot. And I remember one day he usually comes home with like snacks and treats, and I'm like excited. I'm like, what is the treat going to be tonight? And he said, I didn't bring anything. He was like, well, maybe you should buy some on your own. Now, that was the parent talk of like, you weren't happy to just see me.
Yeah, right, yeah. All right, Eve. So, just for the audience to know that, obviously you're in a different area. We had some tech difficulties, but we're good now. You were saying that, one of the things you started thinking about was how is it that your parents are making money, or how do you make money? So just take it from there if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm. So when I thought about it, I was like, oh, my dad teaches. So I said, well, what can I teach? You emulate what you see in front of you.
Yeah.
So I thought, let me go around to my neighbors and let them know that I am starting a class. I'm starting tutoring lessons for all the kids in the building.
And how old are you at this point?
I am about 7. Ready to take on the world at 7.
That's great. That's great.
Okay, the Haitian ego was there early.
Yeah.
So everyone was like, all right, this 7-year-old starting a business. That's fine. I think I charged them $2 per child, $2 per head. And right in the building, right in the courtyard, that's where we all convened. And I taught the kids math, reading, or whatever
Oh
he
wow.
asked me to do. And my father thought that was cute. He was like, clever, clever.
Yeah.
And I was able to buy my own snacks. But it taught me very on that you have to create the world that you want. And in retrospect, seeing that my dad was so involved in the community, and that he was able to impact lives because he got calls for everything
Mm.
beyond just the GED course, it really taught me about what community looks like, how to use the resources that you have right in front of you, and how to make sure that you are your brother's keeper if you want to make sure that those around you can do well in life. So that was a little bit of my upbringing in New York, but also, often people ask me, how is it that you stayed so connected to your culture?
Yeah.
And I like to say, growing up in Brooklyn is like growing up in Haiti in some
Yeah.
ways. We lived in an area in East Flatbush where there were so many Haitians, but also my grandmother came to live with us. And
Mm.
my grandmother died in Brooklyn maybe 2 years ago at 105. Um,
Wow.
she never learned to speak English. And
Yeah.
that means I had to communicate with her in our native tongue, Haitian Creole. But
Yeah.
it also taught me about advocacy because if my parents had to go to work and they're like, you've got to take your grandmother to the doctor,
Mm.
and she doesn't speak English, you have to speak for her. Then I was like, okay, I'm in charge of my grandmother, so therefore, and then I need to make sure that she is well represented. So I remember the first time there was a translator, because my parents were like, just be there, there's a translator that will meet your grandmother. And the
Mm.
translator did not accurately state what my grandmother's symptoms were. And I said to her, that's not what she said, you're wrong.
Oh,
What she
got it.
actually said is this. And the doctor was like, well, I'll talk to her, she seems to know what her grandmother is feeling. But I think those levels of responsibility always ensure that I'm really sensitive about my community
Yeah.
and really sensitive about making sure that our voices are heard, in any disenfranchised community for that matter, that our voices get heard and that people understand what we have to say. So of course at the time it didn't seem that way, but now I can connect it back to why my passions for Haiti community development are so strong. It's because it's
Yeah.
been happening since I was young.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful story, and it reminds me of the immigrant experience in general, right? So, the whole thing about advocacy and people come here from other countries, and then they have kids that are born here and raised here, and then those kids have a certain sensitivity to the fact that their elders are living in this community where they still don't know the language and they still need to get around. But then these kids become almost shepherds of that journey for their own parents, and in that, there's a responsibility that you learn. There's some beautiful lessons there. And, were you one of those kids that when the second you were able to get a job, you got a job or two or three jobs?
Absolutely. I mean, sir, I had a job at 7. So
There you go. Yeah.
so I had a job rather early on. And actually I moved out of my house at 16 and had my own
Mm.
apartment and
What?
paid bills by the time I was
And
16.
and your father let you do that?
Well,
Yeah.
also immigrant child. When we
Yeah.
want to do something, we do it.
Mm.
I think my mom likes to say I was born an adult from the womb. She was like, she came out knowing what she wants to do.
Yeah.
But I think also, again, I really believe in the freedom to create your reality,
Yeah.
which is something that I think is tied to an archetype of an entrepreneur. You're
Mm.
creating something that doesn't exist. You're creating the life that you want, something that you want to see happen or to solve something on behalf of another. So I think that moving out at 16, there were also great lessons there because I had to learn financial discipline really early on. When you're younger, you're like, all right, sure, you miss a bill, you don't pay a rent, you go to a party, you go on a trip. Well, at 16, when you have your own apartment, when you come back, there is a nice notice on the door if you don't
Yeah.
pay your bills. And I attribute that to why I'm such a profit centric CEO and why I'm so disciplined financially, is because I had to learn those lessons early on individually for myself as to what is important, how to balance, your checkbook, and make sure, to me, it's similar to balancing a P&L and making
Mm.
sure the business financials are correct, there are consequences to not doing those things. So moving out, I think that early, though I wouldn't suggest it for most
Yeah,
people,
it's tough.
um, it's really tough. But I learned a lot of great lessons around how to take care of myself and create that world that I want for myself.
So you go through high school, you get into college. At what point do you meet Stefan?
So I met Stefan. So when I talked about going into grad school and the fact that I did meet the husband, that's
Yeah.
actually where me and Stefan cemented our relationship, was at that Wharton event.
Mm,
But we initially met when I was, as an immigrant, you got 10 jobs.
yeah.
In addition to my job as assistant director of development at Penn and working on my master's, I also was the head of the National Haitian Student Alliance. So it is,
Jesus.
and we won't talk about it. I was also part of Big GAPSA, museum board, all this stuff at
Yeah.
Penn. But the National Haitian Student Alliance hosts a conference every year, and it brings about 800 to 1,000 dignitaries, students, academics, and everyone all coming together for the purpose of thinking about how do we have an impact in Haiti or Haitian life here. And we have our friends of Haiti, of course, that we also worked with. So with that, that's the first time I met Stefan, was when the conference was being held in in Pennsylvania, but we had the event in Philly. And someone said to me, "Oh, I see what you've been doing. Great conference. But you might want to talk to this guy about marketing." And I was like,
Mm.
"Anybody about marketing? I know marketing."
Yep. Yeah, I can see that.
And then I showed him some of the documents that we had, and he was like, "Is this word art?" you know, I was like, "Oh." That's when I learned about Photoshop and learned about, the real tools that designers use.
Yeah.
And that's actually how we began to work together, was for the National Haitian Student Conference. So he likes to joke that from the beginning that I met him, I was his boss,
Yeah.
working on the conference.
So you and him meet. You develop a relationship, working slash romantic relationship. Uh, Side question, actually, before I even
Yeah.
go there, did you it seems like you were so busy with organizations, student organizations, work. Did you have a social life?
That's a really good question. It's funny because I still get asked that question now.
Mm,
Remember
yeah.
one of my staff members asked, they were like, "You watch TV?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes, I watch TV."
Okay. All right.
I don't think that I had a as good of a social life as I do now, because now I'm more intentional about it after
Mm,
being an entrepreneur for so long. And it also is like Stefan and I are no longer romantically together, so that also changes how I think about my social life. But at the time, I was just so focused on community, on growing self, and on family, that was a very small part of my life. I also felt so filled in doing things with my community, right? My
yeah.
community was also my friends. It's also who I'm advocating with. It's also who I'm working with. Um, so I spent less time on social life, and more on, or I should say, integrated it into what I was doing on a day to day basis within the community.
Um. So, all right. By the way,
A lot of,
did you pledge any sororities at all?
huh?
Did you pledge any sororities at all?
I did not. To me, I think the work I was doing was my sorority.
Mm,
All right,
yeah.
because you have to think about it. I'm involved in like 10 different student groups.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then now I'm working on a national stage with student groups and adult groups and everyone in between. And the idea of someone hitting me,
Dude, I was thinking about this question as you've been talking, and I knew that was going to be an issue for you.
you knew that was going to
I
be.
just I knew that was going to be an issue for you, a sticking point as to why you wouldn't have joined one if there
I
was
thought
an opportunity.
I really did.
I'm sure you were coveted. I'm sure they went after you and tried to bring you in.
Listen,
Um,
I'm a Delta, so I was like, I'll just, yeah, sure, let's go with that. Let's
yeah.
go with. I'm like, why can't I be an AKA?
That's right. But no touching. No
Don't
touching.
touch it. Don't hit
Yeah.
me.
That
Brooklyn,
that
New York, immigrant child. It's not a good. It's not a good combo.
that tracks. So let's get back to 2014. Creole Essence is now, we're post, uh, the catastrophe in Haiti, and you're starting to get this thing off the ground. What were some of the tribulations, some of the trials that you had gone through after that point? At 2014, now you're turning a curve, but starting a business like this, CPG brand is a challenge. I mean, we're talking about inventory, warehousing. We're talking about testing the product and all that good stuff. You bring in castor oil to the women's hair, and I don't even know if that's the first time people are doing this. Was this
From Haiti on that scale, yes. And
okay?
and that's actually one of the biggest challenges for us. I think naivete is a gift, because
100%.
if someone said, "Hey, you're going to go into your country and create an entire supply chain that did not exist," I would have said, "You're crazy. That
Yeah,
there's no
yeah, yeah.
way, right, that I could do that." But the first time I went to Haiti to actually source the oil, I asked the ladies who were making it on the side street of where my mom lived in Haiti, and the first question they said is, "Why are you asking all these questions, ma'am? Are you coming in to take our jobs?" So the first
Mm,
thing I had to do was get through the trust factor in order to learn how to process the product. So that was one. Second, and I think even before that, when you are part of an immigrant community and you are in the diaspora, there is this feeling in the diaspora that when you go to your home country, that you will be celebrated, loved, and brought in with open arms. A lot of folks experience that reality when they're like, "No, you're a blanc," which means you're a white person, which
mm,
just means you live outside of the country most of your time. We
yeah.
don't know if we can trust you yet. So I had to first overcome that barrier for folks in Haiti to understand, I am not here to take from you. This is something that is there to help you, and we're working in concert and in partnership. And I was able to do that because I had consistently spent time in country, spent time in rural areas that most people would not. So that was the first barrier.
And,
Um,
and just to, real quick
go
for the audience, the Haitian castor oil comes from what, a plant? Like how
It's
is it?
a plant.
Okay,
Yes. So castor there is a castor plant, and pods come out of that plant, and then in within the pod there are seeds.
gotcha.
So the process of making it is, you have to work with farmers because you have to still plant the seed in for the plant to grow in order to cultivate and get the castor seeds. Then the production process, which is also part of what makes Haitian castor oil so special, it goes through a time honored tradition, and that takes a few days in order to make a small amount of oil. So I had to learn that from the
Mm.
masters and how to do that. And then, of
Was
course,
that something that deterred you initially, where you were like, I don't have a few days to make a little bit. I need to make a lot, and
no, because again, naivete. In my mind, somebody already knew how to do this. I was
yeah,
just going to go find that person who made it, and I was going to buy it from them. Kind of like in the States and other places, you have a co-manufacturer.
yeah,
You
yeah,
order the product, you order the goop, you put it in the pretty bottle that you want, and then you focus on marketing and distribution. I had no idea that did not exist. I just thought I hadn't met the person yet.
right.
So I'm going into these different communities, and then finally I'm introduced to a co-op, and they're like, "Sure, we can make it, absolutely." And
Mm,
then I said, "Okay, I need," and I remember we got our first big order for $100,000, right?
what?
And I'm like, "Yes, wholesale it is."
Yeah,
And
yeah,
right, I need 10 drums. Everyone looked at me like, "Excuse me? Who's going to give you 10 drums?" I was like, "But you told me that you could make a lot." They were like, but what we mean by a lot
oh,
is that we could get you a few gallons."
oh
And
my
that was
god,
another lesson as an entrepreneur. Sometimes we think we're speaking the same language as someone, and we are not.
no, yep,
Clarity is key. Be very, very detailed in what you're requesting. And even though, I'm speaking to the farmer and the producer in Creole, a native tongue that I
yeah,
know I understand and they understand as well, but what we mean by things is
yeah,
different. So when I
yep,
came in talking about 10 drums, they're like, "Ma'am, you're crazy. That will take months to make." I was like, "Months? I can't hold on." These people here in the States who have given me a contract of which I have signed, And I'm excited about what I'm about to do. Haiti's about to go onto the export scene, which is important because if you understand a little bit about trade imbalances in a country and a GDP, it's based on how much do you sell versus how much do you buy. Well, Haiti brings in or imports 90% of its material. So this was exciting because now we're exporting something and we're selling something in the country. So this meant a lot. This was beyond just my first order for my business. This had implications for what could be done in a country.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
so could not find that. And that's when I started asking, because I think as an entrepreneur, most of your questions are why. Well, why can't this occur? You start digging in, and I'm a curious child. That's how my dad raised me to be. So I start asking questions as to, well, why can't we get 10 drums? Which led me down the path of, okay, so we're now going to have to create the supply chain. We're going to have to support the farmers with what they need. We're going to have to support the producers for what they need. I've even set up a facility in Haiti.
So we're talking about machinery maybe that'll make things faster, that'll increase the
Exactly.
productivity and getting
Yep.
in all these seeds and wow.
And we're not talking about, one thing I learned when I talked to people, because every time I talked about Creole Essence and the fact that Haitian castor oil was going to be our core focus, someone was like, I had that idea 15 years ago. You
Yeah, of
get that
course. Yeah.
entrepreneur. But then I would say, well, why didn't you? Or if someone said they started it and it failed, I really wanted to know why.
Why it
Because
failed, yeah.
that is a lesson. There is lessons in failures. So one of the big things I heard from people who had attempted this is that they went and got machinery either from India or China, and it wasn't compatible with the current state of the country. You're going to need lots of electricity. It's expensive. You're going to need to have engineers and mechanics to service the machinery. So in learning all that, I said, I am going to keep it pretty artisanal, but just try to be efficient in small ways. So for instance, instead of a woman using a pestle and mortar in order to crush the seeds, I got a coffee grinder, right? It's not going to hurt the integrity of the product, but it is going to mechanize it or semi-mechanize it so that you can be more efficient in the process. So those were other things that I had to learn because obviously I'm not an engineer by trade.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't export, import. Obviously, I am not a farmer. So all these things along the way, I think Creole Essence is the definition of flying a plane and building it at the same time.
Yeah. What are we talking in terms of time for this process? Are we talking years that this took you to develop from like 2010 to 2014? Like what are we talking about in time frame?
Really good question. So I had launched the e-com side of the business and we were getting traction there. And again, remember all those community organizations, all those things I was a part of, that culminated into I had trust within my community. So when I sent out that first email to say, I'm starting this, I was, the first few responses came from folks who I had worked with before, and that began the e-com side of the business. And of course, I got more excited when I got my first order and I didn't know the name. I was like, oh, we're in it now, guys. I don't know who this person is.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I was like, well, how did you hear about us? They were like, oh, someone forwarded it to me. So this idea that now we were going from just folks within our network to those who were suffering with either hair loss, dryness, textured hair, solving that problem, folks were coming into the pipeline. But really what really drove the acceleration of the business was trying to fill that wholesale order, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing I have to sell a 2-ounce bottle to someone. I had enough to do that, but I did not have 10 drums to give to this person who wanted to buy from us wholesale. So the business was still continuing on. And yes, I still worked full time.
Oh yeah, what were you doing?
I was now at Cornell University as their director of diversity and alumni affairs, and one of the youngest ones to do that.
That's a big job. That's not a work from home, right?
None of that. I needed to be in the office, FaceTime.
Yeah.
You're working with millionaires, billionaires to bring funds into the university because the alumni affairs department is the business arm of the university.
Right.
And I think also that was also when I had to make a choice of who I was going to be. Because also I remember a mentor saying, you're going to be in the running to be you could be the youngest VP here at Cornell with what you're doing, given all the stakeholders that you are impacting, but also this department that you've created, because I've always been an entrepreneur. Some people say I worked as hard as I did because it was my business. If you speak to all my bosses in the past, they'll also tell you she worked just as hard and created things when she saw that there was a problem that needed to be solved.
Yeah.
But during that journey, when Creole Essence is growing, now it's coming to a head. I can't be at the trustee dinner and be at a pitch competition at the
Right.
same time.
Right. Right.
And a mentor of mine from Cornell said, "Well, is this a hobby or a business, ma'am? Like, what are you doing?" And I think that declaration to say whether it's a hobby or not, which again, I was offended. I seem to do things when I get offended.
Yeah.
Um,
Motivation. That's what we
it is
call that.
motivation.
Yeah.
So I said, no, this is not a hobby. All this work I'm doing, it's not a hobby. It is a business. So that is in 2013, actually, I resigned from my role as director. I decided to go to focus on my master's full time, and I made the business my thesis. Again, this idea of integration. I don't have a choice. I know I want to get the master's. I'm no longer working at the university, but I'm going to continue growing this business. How do I make everything fit together? So
Yeah.
Creole became my thesis. 2014, we launched. And in 2015, that's when I finally conceded that I could not get those 10 drums for the wholesale order.
So you did?
So I did what an entrepreneur does. I cried. And then you gotta cry. You gotta let some emotion out.
Yeah, of course.
But then it really said to us that we needed to focus on our digital and our e-com presence, but it also crystallized that we needed to get more partners in order to scale. It's almost a gift that the wholesale side did not work out well, because then I would have been distracted and not have turned towards focusing on our customers, right? As entrepreneurs, shiny objects distract all the time. But it not working meant I had to go right back to what I call our tribe, which are our customers, and meeting their needs and what they want and giving them attention in order to grow the business.
Well, quick question here. Are you, at this point, well, prior to this point, were you funding this 100% on your own, or did you take investor money? So you were working, you were taking that money and you were putting it into this business, and then you resigned. I'm presuming you're taking savings and putting it into this business. And then at some point you realize you need some partners.
Yes. So one of the things I often suggest to entrepreneurs, particularly new or old, because if you're, a seasoned entrepreneur and you have a new investment within your business, and so there's risk to it, right? If you're taking all the capital you have now to bet it all on black within your business, I made sure to have a conversation with my entire family. I said to Stefan, okay, if we're going all in on this, I have a year's worth of funds saved. I have some startup capital. I saved up to 50 grand to invest in the business. This is all we got.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do this. A, what are we cutting out? What are the sacrifices that we're making? And then B, talking to family to let them know, you may not see us at the birthday parties, at the weddings, at the events, or what have you. Here's what we're trying to do. We're going to actually need your support. And we slept on many couches, many second bedrooms, were fed many times in the second cars, and so thankful that we had that conversation with close family and friends, because they did support us along the way.
That's great.
That we were doing that. As we were growing and I wanted to get some partners, I decided to look at international development, right? Because that's my background. So unlike many other entrepreneurs, I wasn't like, "Ooh, let me get that VC to come and fund us." I'm like, I didn't know world or traditional financing, but I did know how to write a grant, because I was also a grant writer in a past life. I did know how to talk about social businesses and social impact, because that was also burgeoning and new at the time, that you could take a business and marry it with social impact principles and have them work in parallel. So I did raise about $1 million in international development funds. I did not end up getting that entire $1 million, because that was another lesson in that I wanted to run a business that could impact the community, but development dollars were very metrics based on just social impact. And working with folks who don't understand your industry can actually be the thing that kills your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what almost happened in 2016. Thereafter, you know, the grant funding was pulled. I was not in alignment with some of the development actors because they wanted quick wins. Because I had President Bill Clinton visited, well, his no, yeah, he did. He came and visited our farm in Haiti. Chelsea Clinton came to visit. Muhammad Yunus. It was great that there were a lot of international eyes coming to see what we've built and how we could possibly do it and to use it as a blueprint for other countries around the world. But that's also distracting because I need to be selling product. I need to be focused on distribution. I need to be focused on retail. And given that I wasn't in the beauty business before, and none of the partners in international development investors were, there became this gap in terms of what needed to be the focus on the business. And again, shiny object syndrome, that's short term. It's great to get all that press and to get
Yeah. Yeah.
accolades, but the continuity of the business was really in danger because of it. So funding was pulled because there were some things I did not want to do. I didn't think it was best for the long-term health of the business. So now we're down to $30,000 again in the bank account.
Oh my God. And
Okay.
and at this point, are you have a direct to consumer website ordering that, right? Um, Fulfillment from a warehouse, which was where?
Our house, come on. It's the fulfillment. I made sure to get a nice house. It was beautiful in Homestead, Florida, but it's not for the purposes everyone might think it is. Yes, it was a nice house, but I was looking at square footage because I turned the garage and part of the downstairs into our factory. There were staff coming through there. That's where orders were fulfilled.
You are labeling, packaging.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Dude,
That's we
this
were doing
is
there because again, immigrant also, there's no investors.
yeah.
So I'm managing everything based on capital coming in and out or what we saved. So integrate it, make it work. We live here and we work here.
Yeah. Yeah.
The biggest order we filled at through our garage was for Whole Foods. The first Whole Foods order we got, it's like round up the students, right? Which they were paid.
How
Uh,
how many bottles?
we had to do 15,000 bottles. No,
Oh my
actually
God.
25,000.
Are you serious? Like literally in the garage, in the living
I have
room?
pictures. Yes, sir. I have pictures.
Wow.
The kitchen table was moved or used. At one point, I moved all my couches and everything else. And we had packaging came in from China. It was delivered right into the living room.
Oh
You
my God.
know, we finally, and it was good because again, that financial discipline and that was creating an opportunity where we didn't need to go to anybody else. We took the
Yeah.
profit, put it right back into the company, and we're laser focused on growing. And that was one of the best things that could have happened. It hurt when it occurred, when we didn't finish getting that financing. But all of a sudden, because my back was against a wall, Stefan and I had to figure out how to make this company profitable or go home. That was
Eve,
it.
a lot of what happens when you're starting a business and you're a founder, a CEO, you wear all the hats, right?
Mhm.
You're the packager, you're the shipper, so you're figuring out all of this. And I'm sure it was between you and Stefan, right? Going to figuring out rates with UPS and figuring out FedEx and USPS rates. And then also, who's the sales rep? You're the sales rep. Who's calling up Whole Foods and talking to their buyer, right?
But there
How,
was a lesson in that too, because I actually had hired, when we had the development funds, I hired consultants who knew better
mm,
to go talk to Whole
oh,
Foods,
that's great.
people who had those quote unquote connections. They all came back empty handed. They all failed. And again, as an entrepreneur getting upset, I'm like, why are you all failing at this?
Yeah.
So I had to go figure out and learn and create relationships with my retailers in order to understand, well, how do we get in that door? And I think I've closed every retail account that we've had to date since.
That's
But it was a
amazing.
hard lesson. It sucked, but I learned from that. Okay. And that's why I also negotiated like hell all my retail deals. And people were like, how did you learn to negotiate that? Again, when your back is against the wall, you ask more questions
Yeah.
and you position things and frame them in a way that is different when you think somebody else knows or when you think you have the luxury of time and
Yeah.
money.
Where did Shark Tank? Were you on Shark Tank?
Yes.
What year was that?
That was 2020.
Wow. So 2020, you walk into the Shark Tank and do your thing. Tell me about that experience, if you could.
So we launch into Whole Foods, right? We go from 5 doors to 50 doors to 350, and
Wow.
all in a year. And if you're in CPG, that's not usually the time frame in which a brand grows, but I was on a mission. Simultaneously, after growing the business on Whole Foods, I am now on Shop LC, which is a TV network. I'm on QVC. I'm learning these different ways to connect with our tribe. But now, I was part of the Sephora Accelerator, and that was really my first foray into beauty itself, the industry of beauty, and realized that Ulta was the place that we wanted to be featured and to call our big home, the big retailer. Ulta
Yeah.
is the largest beauty retailer in the country. They have
Okay.
about 1,600 doors. So that becomes
Interesting.
my new mark and the thing
Yeah.
that I want. And everybody, over the years is like, you guys should be on Shark Tank. You guys should be on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And again, I'm like, we're not ready. We're not big enough. I have all these excuses. But in year 5 of the business, I said, you know what? We are here. We're in retail. I had it as a goal that we needed to pass. So I didn't want to go on Shark Tank with less than $1 million in sales. I was like, I'm not doing it. I had watched enough Shark Tank to know I wanted to come with credibility
Yeah.
so that they knew that I was the real deal for it. And quite honestly, and to your question, like, oh, you started this in 2014. You didn't get to Shark Tank. The airing was in 2019. It aired in 2020. That's a long time in between.
Yeah.
So I like to remind folks, we were here before Shark Tank
Yeah.
working.
Right.
You may
Yeah.
not know
Right.
we're already out here. But I finally tracked down the Ulta buyer, get the PO in hand, or at least the contract in hand. And that PO is for $1 million by itself, the opening
Mm.
order. At the same time, I've
Wow.
got a Whole Foods order that's for $500,000. Urban Outfitters, J.C. Penney. So now I have these orders for $2.5 million, but I have no money to fill this. How am I going to get all the working capital needed to do
Yeah.
this? And
Yeah.
surprising as it is, even though I had the most notable retailers in the country who were giving POs, I could not secure any financing.
Why?
I mean, we could go, that's a whole nother podcast.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, only because Haitian Creole Essence, Black entrepreneurship, that is at the heart of this, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. And I don't want to, again, I don't want to get derailed and go down that road
Mm-hmm.
1000%. But, it's a fascinating, it's just reality, and how you're doing this, despite those challenges is in and of itself amazing. It's a product that, correct me if I'm wrong, it is a product that's designated towards urban and African American
It is not.
clientele.
It's
It's not.
actually
So correct
focused
me if I'm
on.
wrong.
No, that's good. It's actually targeted to those who suffer from hair loss, to those who might have textured hair, which is 60% of the world
Yep.
after statistics showed it. I think what it is that early adopters and those who are familiar from a cultural perspective are Black and people of color. No
Yeah.
doubt
Yeah.
about it, right? That's my core base when we first started. But Stefan and I were pretty intentional from the beginning that we don't only serve the Black customer. If you just came from dealing with cancer, chemotherapy, you lost your hair, and now you're looking for something natural to grow it back, Creole Essence welcomes you. If
Mm.
you are dealing with eczema, psoriasis, and dermatitis, which are skin challenges connected to dryness, come on and join the Creole Essence tribe. The other thing that folks have to remember when you think of Haitian, yes, I am the archetype of a Haitian woman, but so is the phenotype that has straight hair, blonde, blue eyes. We
Yeah.
come from a country and a culture that has vast shade
The whole
range,
spectrum. Yeah.
the whole spectrum. So she's also my friend. She also speaks my language. She can speak it better than me. She grew up there. She never left. So
Mm.
why would I alienate her and not invite her into the company as well. So our ethos has always been very different in that perspective. We are definitely Haiti, brown, black. And then we welcome others into the community. You're a friend of the community. And as long as you're respectful, you're home as well. And that's always been our focus. But when the VC calls me, sees me, even though
Yeah.
intentional, we didn't go to Walmart.
Yeah.
We did not go to the beauty supply store. We went to Whole Foods. Who is at
Mm.
Whole Foods?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
is in 2014 at that?
Yeah. 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 White America is at Whole Foods. Yeah.
Thank you. Who is
Yeah.
at that time at Ulta Beauty? I wasn't in the, there was, well, they don't have a black aisle, but I wasn't where all the ethnic products are.
Yeah.
I was with
That's a very good point.
I was
And
with
this is what I did want to. This was a question I wanted to ask because one of my questions was about the thought process and the whole the whole African American aspect of this or the Haitian aspect of this and how intentional you were about the marketing of this product, because obviously you can either lean in and go all in on the quote unquote blackness of this product, or you can make it inclusive and try to do those things. So that was it's good that you kind of answered that. So you're facing these.
everybody told us not to do it, by the way.
Say it one more time.
Everyone told us not to be.
Yes.
There were two sides of that. They said, A, are you sure you want to name your company Creole Essence? Creole is the language we speak in Haiti. It is authentically Haitian. We even spell it with a K, not a C.
Yeah.
So it's not New Orleans Creole, even though it's part of the same family. But we were told that we should pick a French name. Quelque chose qui c'est plus belle. Meaning that it's just nicer. If it's in French, it sounds fancier. It sounds good. I get it.
So bold. I love this, man. I love this. So yeah, you the naysayers, you stood in their face and said, no, we're standing ground and we're gonna do things the way we want to do things.
The way we want to. We were told we should be at Walmart and that Whole Foods and Ulta Beauty would never want us. They were like, why would you go there? Again, I even remember going on Shark Tank. There was an executive from Ulta who said, why would you go there? They're like, Yve, that is not where beauty brands go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I understand what you're saying. However, this beauty brand is going on there because she needs to raise the working capital and no one's willing to give it to her. So again, that idea of necessity, if you want to find a way, you will find it.
Yeah.
That's actually what led us to Shark Tank. Even though people tend to think that, it was just a brilliant marketing strategy. Sure, in hindsight, I could say that. That would be a lie. I really needed capital. And that was one of the things on our 5-year list. I said, let's do it. And everything converged at the right time. So when they talk about luck for an entrepreneur, I truly do believe it's preparation meeting opportunity.
Yeah.
And then you make things happen from there.
At Shark Tank, did you land a shark?
Everyone has to watch the episode in order to know if I landed a shark or not. I never tell.
All right. Fair enough. Okay. The whole journey of this brand has been pretty meteoric, and I think about what you just said, and I think about movies like Black Panther, where people said an all black cast can't do the numbers, and Ryan Coogler, I think, proved people wrong, and he continues to prove people wrong, and I feel like this is what this is exactly the same thing that you're doing in your lane, is proving people wrong, doing things intentionally, and doing the work. So kudos to you and this brand. Where does Creole Essence sit now, and what's the trajectory for the next 3 to 5 years?
Mm-hmm. Really great question. So as you have stated, it's been a lot of going against what is expected from us as a community, as a company, as a people. And now that we sit 10 years old, the next thing I've been focused on is, what does it mean to take a brand with such rich and deep cultural resonance and ties and take it to that next level of science, right? And somebody, science, what does that have to do with it? Well, when you're talking about people's skin and hair, the scalp is the largest, is one of your organs that you're putting things on and it's seeping into it. When we're thinking about health and wellness, the beauty industry really converges when it comes to wellness. And that's something I've I personally believe for myself. And I would often get the question from folks is that, does this really work?
Yeah.
Isn't it just like an old wives' tale?
Yeah.
And we were proud to be one of the first companies to go get the Haitian castor oil clinically tested. So
Mm.
I am not the one who just says it works. Grandma and aunts and millions of people before me, and the 50,000 testimonials that we have on the site, just to make sure that it's clear, we went and got clinically tested. So now, in the era of making sure that science is part of ancestral knowledge, we developed a new product called the SOS serum, to save our scalp serum. And why
Mm.
that's important is that, we are rivaling and coming up against minoxidil and Rogaine and other products that have been deemed by the FDA to work, but that has such adverse side effects on individuals using it. Whether it be that, if you stop using it, you lose your hair, rashes, dryness.
Burning.
Some
Yeah.
people, they get a sty on their eye. Your dog licks you, and there are known cases of death for pets. All of that, we decided to work on a formula that would take what we've learned and what we do from a cultural perspective and mix it with biotechnology.
Mm.
So again, not something that most people would think about for a Haitian beauty brand, but there's a lot of science in plants, and biotech ingredients is exactly that. It's mimicking plant-based ingredients, but making it in a more stable environment. So that we're really excited about, to go to that next level, so that we're also proving that ancestral knowledge is powerful and should not be ignored,
Yeah.
uh, and can really have an impact on people's lives.
Have you also looked into the peptide space and how that? Uh, yeah.
She loves a good peptide. Um, she really
I
does.
saw. I saw the shake.
Yes. We do have our density spray that has peptides in it, but it's
Yep.
something I'm going to go deeper into. And I think that's the exciting space to be in.
Yeah.
Looking at all the different scientific knowledge that is out there, but that could also be integrated with natural plants and natural ingredients to make people's lives better. Because often people say, "Oh, beauty, that's cute," but statistics show that when someone feels good about how they look, their hair, their skin, they are going to come to the boardroom a lot differently than
Yeah.
if they're not feeling confident in themselves. Even from
100%.
relationships, I like to say Creole Essence saves relationships, in the sense that there's a stat that shows that if a woman feels good about her hair, she is 5 times more likely to have sex with her husband.
Mm.
It's important for relationships.
Wow.
That
So when she says you haven't even noticed that I changed my hair, that's not good.
Not good. Not good. You better get her hair, praise it. You better order her some extra Creole Essence and say, your hair looks so good. I got you that Creole Essence shampoo and conditioner you've been using. I have a subscribe button on that for you, babe.
Dude, that there's a marketing campaign in this, right? We got to get this going.
We got to get
Uh,
it going. We got to get it going.
I was in Ulta Beauty yesterday with my two daughters. I have a 15 and
Uh-huh.
17-year-old. And as you know, Sephora, Ulta are at the forefront of this generation. Like they're all over TikTok. And
Yes.
my kids are taking me to Ulta and Sephora all the time. Now, actually less lately, but I feel like the 11, 12, 13-year-olds, they're just in there and they're all about it.
They're all about it. I think
So
statistics,
you're in every Ulta right now?
every Ulta. Every
Oof.
Ulta.
Can't wait. I can't wait to go check out and take some photos with the product. I'm excited. And I mean, to tell my kids that I spoke to the CEO of this brand, like this is awesome. I'm really
Mhm.
excited. I do want to touch on something that it keeps coming into my brain as we continue to talk, because of all the community conversation we had, and um, it seems that you have a political aspiration somewhere in there, Eve, and I want to talk
I
about it.
swear
I
I did
want to
not
get it on camera.
know. I used to. So the irony is, that was my trajectory. That's where I was going.
Uh huh.
And I did run the Philadelphia Young Democrats. I was part of the Pennsylvania State Young Dems. I became an elected state official in my
Okay.
area, one of the youngest. But I think my true passion for impact comes through business. And
Mm,
I don't love bureaucracy. And it's one thing, about running a business, not that there's no bureaucracy in it, but you can eliminate that because you can drive it. It
Yeah.
is very challenging for me now to work in spaces where it takes so much time to get things done. So I truly believe that we need elected officials who represent our interests. I want to support them, but I don't know that the same aspirations that I had for elected office still reigns true today. We'll see. Maybe
That
I'll think about that.
uh, that just to be clear for the audience, that was not a no. You're it's still wide open as far as I'm concerned because I hear it in your voice. I hear it in the passion you have for your community and for the Haitian community. And obviously, we need more advocacy now more than ever for those that are for those of us that are minorities and for those of us who are more marginalized in this country and in this world. So I think I think you have the skill set for it. Just for whatever that's worth.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So let's talk about where people can contact you at Creole and where people can find this product. Tell the people if you can, where to go, how to find you, how to find this product, and we'll put it on the screen there.
Sure. So our website is www.creoleessence.com, KREYOLESSENCE.com. You can find the full expression of the brand at any Ulta Beauty in the country. You can find our castor oils at all Whole Foods nationwide. So those are our two core retailers. And you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, same name, Creole Essence, KREYOLESSENCE. Or folks can follow me and follow my journey. I live in my stories. You can usually tell what I am and what I'm doing at YVECAR. So at Yve-Car on all social media channels.
That's awesome. That's easy. That's perfect. I love
keep
it.
Easy. Yep.
Well, Yve, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate you, first of all, sharing some insights, sharing your history, sharing your journey, sharing your passion. I really appreciate it. It takes a lot for people to come out and share their knowledge so that other people can learn from it. And I think that's important for us in our community. So thank you again for joining us. And
thank you.
This has been. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
For that the community and folks, other entrepreneurs, which is another group that I'm super passionate about because we're a special group of people as entrepreneurs.
1,000%.
Writing things, and any lesson or anything that I can do to help share my mistakes and learnings, definitely want to pass it on. So thanks for that opportunity to do so.
You're welcome. Thank you. And that was another episode of the Flexwork Podcast. We'll see you next time.